My best buddy suddenly changed his personality. That hardcore otaku suddenly became obsessed with going to parties. Going to parties was fine, but the crazy thing was, he kept dragging me along. Even more absurd, he started introducing me to all kinds of women, gold diggers, toxic girls, and extreme feminists. Finally, after I interrogated him again and again, he confessed. Turns out, he was bound to the backstab system. The more I got hated by women, the more money he could earn. So, I went crazy with excitement. I slapped the toxic girl Maria, toyed with the gold digger Willow, mocked Sophia in a live stream. In the end, I was blocked by every single girl, but I split the money 50-50 with my brother, and gained a huge fortune. Chapter 1. The night before our class reunion, my brother-in-arms Makoto gave me a call. He reminded me over and over again that I had to attend. I was a bit suspicious. He was a hardcore otaku. So even if he suddenly wanted to go to a party, why was he so desperate to drag me with him? I didn't think much of it, but the next day, the moment I got there, I regretted it. What the hell kind of freak show was this? Right across from me sat a so-called, slightly chubby, girl weighing over 200 pounds, her mouth greasy with food, baring her crooked teeth as she openly complained about her boyfriend. She said, if he weren't at least honest, I wouldn't even bother with him. He's poor, useless, can't provide the life I want at all. I remembered this girl. Back in high school she often made men-hating remarks and even falsely accused her deskmate of harassment. And now this kind of woman had a boyfriend. I couldn't help but roll my eyes. Makoto suddenly leaned closer and whispered, George, insult her. What? I lowered my voice. Let's just complain in private. All right. This is a class reunion. There are so many people here. Even a few teachers. Forget it. Let it go. Makoto looked disappointed. He was just about to say something when his words were drowned out by the non-stop buzzing of messages from the English class rep sitting next to me. I caught a glimpse from the corner of my eye. Her phone kept lighting up with messages from Simp number 1, Simp number 2, Simp no 3. The girl next to her teased, Maria, is your boyfriend checking up on you? Maria pretended to be modest, but was clearly showing off. If it were just 1, it wouldn't be that bad. But 3, it's a little hard to handle. The key is, they're all willing to spend money on me. I can't bear to give any of them up. It's so annoying. Another girl said, wow, Maria, how do you train them? Teach us. With so few decent guys nowadays, you managed to date 3 at once. The men at the table frowned deeply, but quite a few women looked envious. Makoto leaned in again. George, roast her. I gave him a long look. He nervously scratched his head, avoiding my gaze like crazy. When I still stared at him, he slipped away to the bathroom. Of course, I followed, and cornered him inside. I grinned. With your transparent belly full of bad ideas, cut the nonsense. Just confess already. Makoto hesitated, then pulled me into a stall. In a mysterious whisper, he finally spilled the truth. He said he was bound to the backstab system. The more girls hated me, the more money he could earn. So today, he just wanted to test it out. I fell silent. If it were anyone else, they wouldn't so obviously egg me on to stir up trouble, speak ill of me behind my back, and secretly make all the women hate me. That would actually be the better option. But unfortunately, Makoto's brain was too simple. We'd known each other for over 10 years. If not for me, he'd probably get scammed and even help the scammer count their money. Though I didn't really believe in this so-called system, I still patted Makoto on the shoulder and said, so basically, you just want to test if it's real? Fine, let's go cause some trouble. Chapter 2. As soon as I stepped out, I ran into a girl at the sink casually touching up her makeup. Before I could even process it, she suddenly shrieked, Aya, don't you see there's a woman in the men's room? Get out, or I'll scream assault. I blinked and asked, hold on, listen to yourself. This is the men's restroom. What are you doing in here? She shot me a glare and snapped, and why can't a woman use the men's room? I said, so by your logic I can walk into the women's room too. She fired back, how can that be the same? There's always a long line at the women's restroom, while the men's restroom is empty. Since they show so little respect for women, why can't we use the men's restroom? I answered flatly, the men's shower room is often empty too. Why don't you go in there? There's plenty of space in a pigsty. Why don't you move in? Respecting women doesn't mean respecting livestock. You've already walked into the men's room. If I still treat you like a lady, then you came in for nothing. With that, I tugged Makoto along and left. By the time she realized what I'd said and started hopping mad behind us, we were already back in the private room. We'd barely sat down when Makoto looked at his phone and yelped. Holy! Barely containing his excitement, he said to me, it's real. He showed me the screen, bank account credited, 10,000. Makoto and I locked eyes, both of our gazes burning. Makoto said, whether we strike it rich or not, it all depends on you. I could feel my blood start to boil. Across the table, The slightly chubby girl was bragging to the other women. She said, "Sisters, remember this, if a man isn't willing to spend money on you, why date him? My boyfriend doesn't have other virtues, but he does spit coins for me, and he even notes voluntary gift on the transfer. Now all I have to say is, honey, my wallet is empty. Honey, my tummy is hungry. And that ATM automatically spits coins." I downed a full glass in one gulp, said nothing, walked out, grabbed a big handful of salt, and came back. Under everyone's stunned gaze, smack, I slapped her across the face. I smiled and said, "Here's a slap for you." The gold digger froze. She shrieked, "George, are you insane?" Pointing at the reflective glass, I said, "Take a look at that pathetic face of yours. I'd say your boyfriend must have never eaten pork. Only ever seen pigs run. Your face has more craters than the surface of the moon. Seems like your cerebrum and cerebellum didn't finish developing and had to make room for your intestines. How do you even have the nerve to look down on others? Be grateful if someone gives you a handful of salt to scrub that face of yours. No beauty filter, even at level 10, could polish it smooth." The room went dead silent. The toxic girl Maria jumped to defend her. "George, what's wrong with you? Mind your own business. No wonder you're still single." Without a word, I snatched her phone and rushed into the private restroom, locking the door. Then I called her boyfriends one by one. "Hello, I'm this toxic girl's high school classmate. She's juggling 3 guys at once, cheating on all of you, and she just made you the butt of a joke in front of our classmates. You'd better stay away from this kind of trash. Oh, and I heard you've given her plenty of luxury gifts. Remember to ask for them back." Outside, Maria was pounding the door like crazy, screaming, "Aya, George, you bastard, give me back my phone." I yanked the door open. Seeing Maria rushing at me in a fury, fangs bared, Makoto hurried over and blurted anxiously, "George, are you okay? Do you still want to hurt someone? Should I call a doctor? How did this happen?" "Your condition was under control. I've got a short fuse, and I told Makoto before, if I ever start trouble, he should use that line to get me out. Didn't expect it to work this well." As soon as Makoto finished, Maria flinched back 3 steps. Our homeroom teacher asked carefully, "Is George sick?" Makoto sighed and tapped his temple. "Yeah, it was under control. Must have been that woman in the men's room just now." Her ridiculous logic set him off. No one dared say another word. Clutching my head in pain, I pointed at those gold diggers and toxic girls and shouted, "None of you are getting away, none of you." All the girls stepped back in unison. Makoto half dragged me out. Once we were alone, we looked at each other. Makoto whipped out his phone, checked the numbers, and we both went utterly still. Account credited, 500,000. Chapter 3. There were 25 girls present in total. It seemed every single one of them now hated me, but the amounts credited varied depending on how much they despised me. This meant the closer a girl's relationship to me, the more money I earned when she hated me. Makoto's hands trembled as he clutched his phone. We're rich, we're rich." Without another word, he immediately transferred half to me. "If I get rich, I won't forget you." Tears welled up in my eyes. I choked out, "Bro, do you want even more money?" Makoto nodded frantically. "Yes." I remembered this gold digger I once met while giving Makoto a ride in a friend's car. She was an absolute oddball, insisted on hopping in, and within 10 minutes she was sobbing and begging to be my girlfriend, pestering me again and again, not only crying, but also threatening to kill herself. I hadn't planned to deal with that idiot again, but now, I'd changed my mind. She wasn't an idiot, she was my goddess of wealth. So I called Willow and asked her out to dinner. She agreed immediately. What I didn't expect was for her bestie to tag along. The moment we met, her bestie sized me up like a criminal on trial. She rolled her eyes and said, "So sloppy, clearly a loser." I quickly waved my hands. No, not a loser. Sure, I've got no car, no house, no money, but I gamble, drink, smoke, and womanize without fail. Her bestie looked like she'd swallowed dirt. She snapped, You scumbag broke parasite, and you still think you can date my bestie?" Willow rushed to cover for me. "Of course not. George is just joking. How could someone who drives a Ferrari be broke?" Her bestie froze, muttering, "Ferrari?" She tucked her hair behind her ear, gave a dismissive hum, and said, "You're really dishonest. You shouldn't joke about such things. It's low level, don't you know? And let me tell you, my bestie is so beautiful. Only a handsome, rich CEO could ever deserve her. But don't think that just because you've got a little money you can order her around. She's sensitive, so after marriage, you'll have to give her all your savings for her to manage, to make her feel secure. And though she can be dramatic and temperamental, you'll need to coax her patiently, tolerate her." Before she could finish, I stuffed 2 giant croissants into my mouth, crumbs flying everywhere. I even reached for the one on Willow's plate, spraying crumbs as I mumbled, "If you don't want it, I'll eat it." Willow's bestie screamed, wiping her face clean of crumbs. She accidentally knocked over a glass of water on the table. I jumped up and, with chocolate-covered hands, tried to help wipe her clothes. "Miss, are you okay?" She rolled her eyes so hard they nearly stuck. Leaning against Willow, nearly out of breath, she yelled, "Willow, if you stay with him, I'll cut you off forever." I apologized over and over until we finally managed to send her away. When I returned, Willow looked displeased. "George, what's wrong with you? You couldn't even win my bestie over. Forget it, miss out on a girl as amazing as me, and you'll regret it." Facing her scolding, I gave a heavy, deliberate sigh. "All right, then this must be the last time we'll ever meet. May I at least have a hug?" Willow looked reluctant but blushed anyway. She straightened her skirt, fixed her hair, convinced of my affection. She leaned in with feigned resistance, waiting for my embrace, but I couldn't hold it in and whispered excitedly into her ear. "Your bestie was so worried you'd find happiness. She added me on WeChat the moment she left." Willow froze like a statue. I laughed so hard I nearly collapsed. "You can still catch her if you run now. You'll see she's already confessing to me in messages." "That's it, you've been betrayed. Your bestie just stole your man." Willow completely broke. She shoved me away, face pale, chasing after her while sobbing. Sister, are you even my sister anymore? You said you'd look out for me. What happened to girls help girls?" Chapter 4. Perfect, everyone had left. I called Makoto over. Couldn't let this whole table of food go to waste. Who knew? The moment he walked in, he slipped and landed on his knees in front of me. I quickly pulled him up. Makoto's eyes welled with tears as he cried. 1 million, George. 1 million. So much money. I laughed. Think bigger. This system literally gives us free money, but insists on making you backstab me. Honestly, it makes me want to cry. Noticing the restaurant patrons staring at us, I paused, then patted Makoto's shoulder loudly and declared, "Makoto, I just dumped your sister. I spend money only to marry a lifelong maid. How could she be so clueless? You'd better go home and teach her a lesson." The crowd that had just watched Willow storm out was completely stunned. Makoto looked utterly confused, but with women in the restaurant glaring at me in disgust, Makoto's phone started chiming again and again with deposit notifications. Finally realizing what I was doing, he broke into sobs and wailed, "Brother-in-law, don't you dare take back the dowry. You've got to save it so I can marry too. You'll always be my true brother-in-law. Don't worry, I'll discipline her the moment I get home." No acting, pure emotion. On the way back to campus, Makoto told me bad news. The system ran on energy from jealousy and hatred. That's why it was called the backstab system. But the way he and I were playing it, it wasn't getting any energy. In fact, in just a few days it had lost 2 million. So the system had had enough. It reported the situation and would soon force a change of host. I was shocked. Did that mean we didn't have much time left to make money? No way. As long as I'm alive, I'll keep cashing in. I had to shear the wool right down to the last strand. But making girls break down one by one was too slow. Just as I was racking my brain for a way to make a big score, Makoto burst into my dorm in a panic. "George, did you see the confession wall?" He shoved his phone at me. On it, Willow had posted a full-name rant accusing me, a disgusting low-class man who toyed with her feelings, played her along, got entangled with her bestie, spewed vulgar insults, and had a rotten character. That post had already gone viral with over 1,000 shares. I nearly died laughing. Talk about someone handing you a pillow when you're sleepy. I immediately commented under her post with my real name. Yes, exactly. I, George, really am like this. Couldn't have described me better. Soon my rotten reputation spread across the entire school. Even girls who didn't know me started hating me, and Makoto's account kept receiving deposits one after another. My own account also got exposed, with plenty of people rushing to curse me out. Seeing the popularity, I doubled down and posted another status. Do you have gold diggers around you? Extreme feminists? Or those idiots who believe everything their besties say? Do you have complaints but nowhere to vent? Tell me. In 3 days I'll live stream as George, your substitute mouth, roasting them all on your behalf. Submissions welcome. Chapter 5. When I first posted that status, I didn't expect much, but to my shock, in just 3 days, my DMs exploded. They were all school gossip. My eyes dazzled as I scrolled, my face glowing with joy. Makoto thought I was getting roasted by angry messages, and just as he was about to comfort me, I patted his shoulder with meaning. Brother, are you ready to embrace overwhelming fortune? 10 minutes before the live stream even began, the room was already filling with students eager to watch the spectacle. Someone posted, "Our senior Willow already exposed this disgusting guy, and you're still giving him views." Almost instantly, bullet comments fired back. TBH, I've been sick of Willow for a long time. Always on the school forum pushing extreme feminism, bashing men. Gross. I say George is serving justice, another said. Agree. I'm in George's class, he's actually a decent guy. Someone else chimed in. Probably just pissed off Willow. Everyone knows some girls have hearts smaller than pinholes. Of course. Others countered. Unbelievable. You nasty men have such twisted values. How can you defend a toxic guy who toys with women's feelings? And the reply came fast. Oh, sounds like we hit a nerve. Guess some toxic girls got triggered. Why is someone taking this so personally? Ha ha ha. Before the stream even started, the bullet comments were already a battlefield. I got my sunflower seeds and soda ready. When the scheduled time arrived, I went live on the dot. I said, "Time's up, our roast festival officially begins. But first, a warning, this stream may deal critical damage to certain toxic girls. If you've got a fragile heart, exit now while you can." I waited 1 minute. Instead of dropping, the viewer count spiked by 5,000. Rubbing my hands like a scheming fly, I opened the first DM. I cleared my throat and began. This one's an anonymous roast. From literature, class of 2020. Section 4. A certain self-proclaimed chubby girl little princess. You commented on a classmate's video, spamming dozens of replies, saying she's pale and slim, catering to male standards, being a pick-me. You claimed beauty shouldn't be defined, that being yourself is the real beauty. But let's be real, you weren't rejecting beauty standards. You were just having your neurons cross-wired. Why do you get to define other people's aesthetics? That's the real double standard. I let out a sound of disgust and said, "My suggestion is that the one who submitted this privately send me her account." I absolutely have to leave a comment. She chose to redefine beauty instead of keeping her mouth shut and moving her legs. The chat exploded with laughter. I glanced up, viewership had already jumped by another 1,000. Okay, on to the second roast, I said. Anonymous again. Business English, class of 2020, section 5. Sophia, last weekend I asked you out to eat. Fine, you came, but you dragged 3 besties along. Ordered a feast. When I asked you to split the bill, you and your friends dined and dashed, then blocked me. You gold digger, pay me back. I barely finished reading when the culprit herself showed up in the comments. David, you pathetic man. If you've got something to say it to my face. Can't even treat me to dinner, and you call me a gold digger. Pathetic. Almost immediately, David fired back. I am talking about you. Gold digger. Running out on the bill is shameless enough, but you even snuck 3 roast chickens to go while pretending to use the bathroom. What's this? You girls fleeing a famine. Sophia retorted. What's wrong with taking leftovers? Saving food is a traditional virtue. You must have a messed up worldview. And what's wrong with me bringing friends? Obviously you had ulterior motives. Or why would you mind me bringing my besties? Let's be blunt, you wanted to mooch off me without spending money. Real men feel joy spending on the one they love. You guys are disgusting. Miserly pigs. The male viewers erupted. Bullet comments flooded in. I can't take it anymore. With that filthy mouth of yours. Did you just eat shit? Idiot. If I ever meet you, I'll knock your chicken head clean off. Soon, more and more girls flooded in to defend Sophia. They claimed it was obviously the guys who were stingy, unwilling to spend money but still wanting to take advantage of her. They said Sophia wasn't wrong at all, and that calling her a gold digger over one meal was ridiculous. They whined about how this society's values are twisted, but what disgusted me the most were the occasional comments saying, "I'm a man, but even I can't stand this." I couldn't take it anymore. I went off. Some of you spout absolute bullshit. Do you even understand what gold digger means? Does it stop being gold digging just because the amount is small? Do you think only scamming for dowries, cars, and houses counts? Is gold digging measured by quantity? I honestly envy how thick your skin is. Must take great care to stay that way. You yap all day long like you're scared people won't notice your walnut-sized brains. If you think women spending men's money is just their right, like men owe it to you, then just call it debt collection. Why bother with dinners? Why bother with dating? Honestly, your mothers gave you those faces just so you'd never find love. Treasure them. The live stream went dead silent. Then slowly, bullet comments appeared. Streamer, that was savage. Keep going. Holy shit, you're literally my internet mouthpiece. Feels so good hearing this. I'm following. Promise me, this series has to continue forever. I went on to read more, 10 whole submissions in a row. Stories about girls juggling multiple guys, or going full-on extreme feminist and bashing men daily. By the end of the stream, I was still buzzing. There's more to say, but we'll continue next time. After I ended the broadcast, Makoto was bouncing with excitement. One night, 8 million. Hurry, hurry, let's split it. You 6, me 4. I froze. Didn't we agree on 50-50? He said, but I didn't do anything. You're the one taking all the risks, making all the enemies. How could I shamelessly take half? I waved him off. No, we stick to the original deal, half each. I'll just keep the small change. I've got plans for it. He nodded. All right. Chapter 6. Lately, I've been caught up in so much trouble that, with finals approaching, I had no choice but to cling to Buddha at the last moment and bury myself in the library. studying like crazy. That night, I left almost at midnight. On campus, there were barely any people walking around. To get back faster, I took a shortcut. As I passed by the artificial lake, I suddenly saw several figures appear under the street lamp, silently following me. I froze for a second, turned sharply, and saw 4 or 5 guys emerging from the shadows. They glared at me with hatred, and one of them said, "George, after doing so many despicable things, you still dare to walk around at night?" I couldn't help but laugh. I shrugged and replied, "I haven't done anything wrong." "Let me guess, you guys are the simp veterans of that group of girls. What's the matter? Your goddess got hurt and sent you to avenge her?" The leader gave a cold laugh. "There aren't even cameras here. If you don't kneel and beg for forgiveness, don't blame us for being harsh with you." They advanced step by step, but I calmly pulled out my phone. A second later, just as one of them raised his fist to hit me, a girl rushed forward, took the punch, and fell down screaming right in front of them. I gave the girl an okay sign. Her name was Anna, a fashion design student, 1 year younger than me, but with a natural talent for acting. Since that live broadcast, I had heard that several people wanted to cause me trouble, so I used a tiny portion of the system's reward to hire her. Because, after all, if I wanted to strike at gold diggers and simps, I couldn't waste the opportunity. That's why that night, after I left the library, Anna had been following me closely. In less than 10 seconds, those guys scattered like frightened animals. It seemed they knew perfectly well the consequences of being falsely accused by a girl. Anna got up, blinked, and asked with a smile, "Was the video recorded? Was my fall elegant enough?" I was speechless. I nodded. "Yes, it was recorded." "Very elegant." She smiled in satisfaction. On the way back, Anna couldn't hold back her curiosity and asked, "Honestly, I still don't understand why you risk making enemies out of those people." I stopped on the stairs, turned around, and replied with my hands open, "I'm only telling the truth. Maybe in real life no one dares to tell them. They break down because my words are too real. They hurt that fragile pride of theirs. Then, those men-hating women find other men to fight for them. What's wrong? Do you also think what I said is wrong?" Anna looked stunned and shook her head. "No, what you said was very right." Before going to sleep, I transferred the payment to Anna. I remembered when I hired her. I was told her family had fallen on hard times and her parents were hospitalized, urgently needing money, so I sent her a little extra, as additional payment for the effort. But half an hour later, she returned the difference. She said to me, "I don't want it. You're also a student, and you spend what your parents give you. Better save it. Since making money isn't easy, let's keep it fair and nothing more." Hearing that left me stunned. It had been a long time since I'd met a girl like that. At that moment, Makoto suddenly burst into my room. "Yes, since we had money, we rented a big house. After all, you can suffer in everything except in how you live." With his face lit up with excitement, Makoto said, "The system had said it was going to switch hosts. It must be busy with the disconnection process and that's why it's been acting weird. Well, just a while ago I overheard it. And if you manage to make that Anna hate you, the reward is 5 million. Chapter 7. I was stunned. What the hell? Why does her hating me alone outweigh thousands of people in the live stream room? Makoto guessed. Maybe this world is like a novel. Anna has the luck of a female lead, so she's different. Her bonus is so high, so the corresponding difficulty must be greater. On her social media, she was still looking for a part-time job. I thought for a while, then sent her a message to hire her for another week, and also gave her the schedule for the next day. When Anna saw me in the restaurant wearing a wrinkled t-shirt, yellowed at the collar like dried pickled vegetables, she really froze for a second. I was relentless, eating during the meal with no image at all, wolfing down my food. She couldn't hold back and said, "Have you not eaten for a few days?" I asked in confusion. "Huh?" She said, "If you're really struggling, I can also lend you some money." I was speechless. Before, earning money was easy because those girls were too easy to emotionally manipulate, and they already had obvious flaws in their character. I only needed to strike precisely. But Anna really had nothing for me to criticize. Just as I was struggling with this, Willow came in from outside the restaurant. The moment she saw me, she mocked me coldly. "George, you're really something. Here you are tricking girls again." "Huh?" I flipped her off. Willow got even more excited, pulling Anna aside and ranting, "Sis, let me tell you, this George said if you marry him and he pays the bride price, it's like buying himself a lifelong maid." What a joke. Equality between men and women. Why should women have to serve men like maids? His values are clearly problematic. He's objectifying women, and now that women have awakened, that's why he hates women so much. Don't be fooled by him. These disgusting guys are just gross. I asked, "Willow, did you eat shit and forget to wipe your mouth?" Willow exploded with rage. In front of everyone, she picked up Anna's glass of water, ready to splash me, but Anna stopped her. Willow asked, "What are you doing?" Anna tilted her head and said, He's my boss, Willow yelled angrily. How much did he pay you to betray your own gender? Anna rolled her eyes and said, I honestly have no interest in playing along with you two. I just want to say, yes, the idea of paying a bride price to buy a lifelong maid is problematic, and it does look like objectifying women. But who's the one demanding the bride price? Is it the men forcing the woman to accept it? Is it the men trying to force a deal? If that were the case, I would agree with your viewpoint. So fundamentally, who is really objectifying women? Willow was dumbfounded. I was dumbfounded too. I really hadn't seen a girl like this for a very, very long time. At night, lying in bed, I sighed that Anna's money was probably beyond my reach. Suddenly Makoto leaned over and said, George, maybe there's a way to make her hate you. I asked. What way? He said. Be the male version of a gold digger. Damn. That's kind of messed up, but worth a try. We could trick the system's money into our hands and then pay Anna back double. So I immediately messaged her, saying I urgently needed money, but I didn't expect that in less than 30 seconds. Anna transferred me 20,000 yuan, and even said, this is all I have on hand for now. Use it to get through the emergency. Stay strong. All difficulties will pass. Makoto and I stared at her message, sinking into deep guilt. In the middle of the night, we both sat up at the same time, looked at each other, and said, we really fucking deserve to die. Chapter 8. Early the next morning, we really couldn't stand the condemnation of our conscience anymore, so we decided to find Anna and tell her the truth, but we happened to bump into her arguing with someone. It was the first time I had ever seen such a good-tempered person like her actually lose her cool. She said angrily, didn't you agree to 50,000? The man opposite her was wearing a suit and glasses, smiling slyly at Anna as he said, 20,000 at most. For this crappy thing you made, even 20,000 is generous. Don't think too highly of yourself. Anna immediately began packing her things. She snorted coldly and said, I'm not selling anymore. The men shrugged and said, sell or don't, whatever. If you're really that desperate for money, you'd even sell yourself. Executives just love college girls like you. Be smart about it. Young lady, I've eaten more salt than you've eaten rice. I walked straight over, grabbed the salad from the table, and dumped it on his head. I cursed furiously. Funny how all that salt hasn't killed you yet. Old bastard. Bullying students, don't you have any shame? Get lost. The middle-aged man stood up, ready to fight back, but this restaurant was right next to the university, filled with college students. Someone immediately stood up and shouted, stop acting arrogant just because you're older. We won't tolerate you. Get out already. His face turned red with rage, and he grabbed his bag and fled in embarrassment, pointing at Anna. He left one last sentence. Let's see who else you can sell to, I said. Sell to me. Anna froze when she heard me say that. She asked, do you even know what I'm selling? I scratched my head and said, no idea, but I'm buying. You can tell me now. Damn, is this the joy of being rich? Money really does give you confidence. It feels amazing. Anna said she was actually selling a fashion design collection she made herself. It was a project she had polished for 2 years, originally planning to build a team and launch her own brand. But then her family suddenly went bankrupt. With no startup funds and no investor interested, she was left with no choice but to sell off 2 years of hard work. As soon as I heard that, I immediately offered to invest. Makoto quickly nodded and said, I'll put in 2 million too. Anna stood there stunned for a long while, tears shimmering in her eyes as she choked out, really? Makoto and I lowered our heads. We didn't dare say it out loud, but the truth was we were simply too guilty. Besides, since Anna was so special, she was definitely a promising investment. If we invested now, we'd become major shareholders, and there was no doubt we'd get our money back. Chapter 9. Later, Anna used our investment money to successfully start her own business. Makoto and I raced against time to milk the system, and in 2 months we made 10 million. From then on, my reputation in the school completely exploded. The girls on campus all avoided me when they saw me. I heard that in every place where groups of girls gathered, there were signs posted saying, George and dogs are forbidden to enter. Holding a fortune in my hands, I thought their anger was actually kind of cute. Finally, the system reported that it had successfully switched to a new host. Makoto sat tightly in my room, giving me a real-time update. The system says 1-minute countdown until switching hosts. It also said it got punished by its boss for losing money and hopes never to see us again. This time it applied to bind with a host who is greedy enough, sly enough, and whose brother is an idiot, easy to be backstabbed. Countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Makoto took a deep breath and said, George, the system is gone from my head. I patted his shoulder, about to suggest going out for barbecue, when suddenly a cheerful mechanical sound rang in my head. Hello, host George. I am Backstab System 438. From now on, as long as you can backstab your brother Makoto, the more women hate him, the more you can. The system seemed to suddenly realize something was wrong. It started screaming in panic. Impossible. How is it you two again? Aya. Why? I burst out laughing madly. This was too dramatic. Makoto unbound the system, only for me to be bound with the backstab system instead. I laughed so hard I couldn't even straighten my waist. Makoto was terrified, thinking I had gone crazy from sadness after the unbinding. I explained the truth to him in broken laughter, and Makoto gritted his teeth and said, "So I'm the idiot brother. I don't accept that." I said. "Now we can make money again," he replied. "I can act even dumber if needed." The system collapsed, screaming and twisting in my head, crawling in dark despair. It even threatened to unbind again. But since it took 3 months to unbind for Makoto last time, this time definitely wouldn't be any shorter. We had at least 3 months to make money. Damn, just thinking about it made me excited. But after calming down, I suddenly realized a problem. I had always been good at offending people. Making women dislike me was second nature. But Makoto wasn't like that. He was handsome, mild-tempered, didn't like conflicts, and was actually kind of slow with words. How could we possibly make women hate him? We just stared at each other. Then Makoto's phone rang. He mouthed to me, "It's about a group dating event." My eyes lit up, and I quickly gestured for him to accept. Reluctantly, Makoto agreed, then pouted and said, "My ex-roommates invited the girls for this mixer, but their values are, how do I put it, about the same level as our high school classmates." I was overjoyed. "What are you talking about? That's a bunch of gods of wealth." "Brother, whether we can keep making money all depends on you." Makoto wasn't confident at all. He thought he wasn't good at snapping back at people, so he probably couldn't make girls hate him. I had no choice but to go with him, sitting at the table behind his, ready to help him with strategies. But I hadn't expected, we were worrying way too much. Chapter 10. A girl introduced herself in an affected tone. Makoto handed her a glass of water and said, "Don't strain your voice. If you've got something stuck in your throat, drink some water and take a rest." The fake socialite brushed back her long hair and asked if she looked like some celebrity. Makoto replied seriously, "When you don't smile, you look like an octopus." The fake socialite was speechless, forcing a smile, "And now?" Makoto answered, "Even more so." Seeing the look on her face, Makoto realized he had said the wrong thing and hurried to add, "No, no, no, when you smile, the little gap between your teeth makes you look especially cute." Behind him, I was biting my lips so hard to hold back my laughter that I almost died. Makoto really underestimated his own destructive power. As the girls' faces grew darker and darker, the money flowing into my bank account grew more and more. At the end, Makoto said nervously, "George, did we not make any money? Next time I'll try to learn from you." I patted his shoulder meaningfully and said, "Don't belittle yourself, you're way more unlikable than me." Makoto was speechless. I clapped my hands and decided, "Let's start another live stream." Makoto asked, "Should I read private messages?" I said, No, just chat with them a bit." Since we didn't know when the system would switch hosts again, the next day we immediately started another live stream. At first, there weren't many people. A few minutes later, Makoto connected with a girl. The girl, probably thinking he was handsome, eagerly tried to strike up conversation. Back then, lots of people at school were chasing me. I was fighting with those little girls almost every day. Makoto asked, confused, "Huh? Why were the girls fighting with you?" The girl snorted softly and said, "Because they were jealous of how pretty I was." "But what does it have to do with me if they can't control their boyfriends?" And then they called me shameless. So of course I cursed back at them. Makoto went silent, then asked, "So if they didn't call you shameless, you wouldn't have been?" The air went quiet for a second. The girl cut off the connection. Makoto's infuriating but harmless live stream style quickly attracted some people. Bullet comments appeared. "The streamer has such a unique vibe. Insulting without curse words, everyone should learn this skill." Makoto looked dazed and asked, "What skill?" I was just telling the truth. Bullet comments, "That's even dirtier." I lay on my bed, listening to the notification sounds of money arriving. It felt like I had reached the peak of life. Thinking about how the system had been silent for a while, I deliberately provoked it. "Are you sure this backstab system of yours won't always be running at a loss?" After a long pause, the system answered gloomily, "Before I met you two, I always won without fail." It continued, "Humans are selfish creatures. No matter how good two people's relationship is, when I appear, their first instinct is to keep me secret, then follow my instructions to betray their friend. You two are the exception." I never thought that Makoto wouldn't even know how to betray properly. The system paused for a moment and said, "According to statistical analysis, you are cunning and greedy for money. If the one I had bound with from the very beginning was you, I would have succeeded for sure." I fell silent. I said, "You really don't understand humans. Makoto and I had known each other since we were 7. My mom had abandoned me, leaving father and son behind. His mom had cheated. When I was little, my dad had to make money to raise me, working day and night just to survive. Every morning I went to school by myself, taking 2 yuan from the tin can at home to buy breakfast. But sometimes my dad forgot to put money in, and I would go hungry. Every time, Makoto would share his breakfast with me. At first, I thought his family must be well off, that he grew up cared for and spoiled, that's why he was so kind. Until one day after school, when I passed by his house and saw a handprint on his face, as he sat at the door crying. It was because he had accidentally exposed his mother's affair and got slapped for it. From inside the house came loud noises, vulgar curses filling the air. That was the first time I invited him to my home. He stammered and said, "From now on, I'll bring you breakfast every day. Will you protect me at school?" I forgot to mention, back then I used to fight everyone at school, while he was the honest, quiet type who was often bullied. So he thought of it as paying me a protection fee. We've known each other for over 10 years, encouraging and supporting each other all along the way. We both indeed love money, because I needed to support my dad, and he wanted to escape from that family. Money was our confidence, our foundation. The system once again tried to brainwash me, saying that most friendships are fake, friends may hope you do well, but never better than themselves. I coldly replied to it, "Don't use your cold statistics to measure human emotions." The system was furious, swearing it would definitely switch to another host. Chapter 11. As graduation approached, the system's application to switch hosts was finally approved. Before leaving, it said to me, "One day I will come back and prove to you that humans like you too are only a minority." I laughed and said, "When you've seen more of humanity, you'll realize that the complexity and diversity of people is beyond your imagination." The system disappeared. Makoto and I gathered all our assets and decided to travel across the country first. So we never even considered internships or job hunting. Some of the girls I had criticized before somehow found out we hadn't applied for internships, and they came mocking us with sarcastic remarks. As we were moving our luggage before leaving campus, we happened to run into Willow and Sophia. The two of them were wearing ill-fitting high-end dresses, yet with inexplicable confidence. They asked, "Heard you two didn't even find internships?" I smiled. "Not finding one counts as not finding one, I guess." Sophia said, "Moving out already, you losers, no cars, no houses. How can you pretend so much every day?" I kept smiling. The Rolls-Royce we had just bought was parked at the school gate. The seaside villa had just started renovations last month. If we don't pretend, then who will? Makoto and I pinched each other's legs purple trying to hold back our laughter, but we forgot that our forced smiles looked even more sarcastic than crying. Willow pointed at me angrily and said, "Let me tell you, tomorrow I'm going to interview at Penguin Company. From now on, you won't even be worthy of looking up to me." Sophia chimed in, "Come on, what would they know? Do they even know what Penguin is? It's the fastest growing fashion company in recent years. Remember that fashion piece that went viral earlier this year? The one even in the news? That was Penguin's. And what's more," she smiled faintly, "the boss of Penguin is also a woman. While you're still looking down on women, women are already standing at the very top." She added, "Soon, you'll be the ones carrying our shoes." Hand in hand, the two strutted off arrogantly. Makoto and I stared wide-eyed at each other. I asked, "What did Anna say her company's name was again?" Chapter 12. Penguin Office Area. Anna led Makoto and me toward the office, and employees whispered among themselves, "Who are they? Do we have guests visiting today?" Even if we had guests, Anna wouldn't personally go greet them, right? Could it be? Another replied, "Doesn't look like it. Look, Sister Anna is even walking beside them to guide the way. Why is she being so polite?" The murmurs grew louder and louder. Anna simply stopped walking and introduced us to everyone. "Let me introduce you all. These two are shareholders of Penguin. Without them, there would be no Penguin today." Everyone looked utterly shocked. Then came a thunderous round of applause. Inside the office, Anna told us about the company's profits over this period. Makoto and I were dumbfounded. Back then, it had just been a casual investment. Who would have thought it would grow hundreds of times over? During the meeting, a secretary came and went. I casually asked, "Is there an interview happening today?" The secretary nodded. "Yes, on the 5th floor. It starts in 10 minutes. Would President Wang like to take a look?" I smiled and said, "Please add one more seat for me. Thank you." When I went down, the interview had just begun. Sophia and Willow were nervously straightening their clothes in the hallway. Willow said, "I'm kind of nervous." Sophia replied, "Nervous about what? Didn't I tell you already? My cousin is a team leader inside. She's already taken care of it, and the spots are reserved for us." They took deep breaths, until they heard their names called. Willow and Sophia entered the interview room together. The moment they saw me, both of them were shocked. "George, why are you here?" The secretary froze for a moment, then quickly began to introduce, "This is..." He didn't even enter the interview process. Willow pointed at me and shouted, This guy must have gotten in through under-the-table manipulation. You should check carefully. The entire room went silent. The secretary's expression immediately darkened, and with a cold face he said, "Please be quiet, both of you. This is our company shareholder, President Wang. Today he is also one of the interviewers, and he holds veto power." Willow and Sophia's faces turned completely pale. I raised the corner of my lips, leaned back in the chair, and stretched out my hand toward them, saying, "Please begin your performance."